Hey, what's up, guys? Just thought I'd get on here real quick and share a service call that I just went on. And so the reason I want to share this is it's kind of it kind of points out how important it is to look at the whole machine, like not the whole system, not just one problem. So went to a sorority house to work on a commercial gas range. Had basically pilot was having trouble staying lit. It was a simple thermocouple, right? So replaced that, and as I'm looking at the rest of the oven, I'm checking every knob, turning every thing, pushing every button, making sure that every burner burns, all the flames look good. Just generally, I'm not putting my manometer on every dang, test port and everything. It's not going too crazy, but just, generally, is this oven working? Does it look good? Are there any racks broken? Anything, just staring at me that's saying something's not right? And as I'm going through it, I noticed that on the other oven, it's a double oven with 6 burners and about a 30-inch flat top. So thermocouple right oven. On the left oven, it's working just fine, but I'm trying to push the push button spark igniter, and it's just sticking like crazy. And I was able to get it to finally go and to spark, and it technically worked, but I'm like, okay, so this is wearing out, and eventually it's not going to work. So I went ahead and replaced that. Funny thing is that later on after my visit, I got a call from the office. Basically, the owner of my company was wondering, why was I looking at the left oven? They said that the right oven was the problem. That was what the service ticket was for. And it's true, but we had an NTE, not to exceed amount, and a thermocouple isn't going to be very expensive, nor is it going to require much labor. So it is worth it to the customer, in my mind, to double check that the whole entire range is working. And we think about that with an HVAC system or with a dishwashing system or, any other type of commercial or residential machinery, even a drain system, an electrical system in a house, whatever your trade is, it makes sense while we're there to just go ahead and make sure that the entire thing is working right. Now it's not to say break the whole thing down and test everything, to the nth degree, but there is a balance. There's a point at which, we kind of have a responsibility to make sure that, we're checking the whole machine. So here's the thing, if the manager of that sorority house was a little, confused as to why she thought I was looking at the wrong oven, she would have been even more upset if 2 weeks later, now they can't push the spark igniter in to get the pilot to start. Well, your guy was just here. Why didn't he fix it then? I rest my case. So it's always okay to make sure that we're giving the customer our best possible service by letting them know that we're going to check the whole machine. We're going to make sure that the whole thing works. We're not going to deep dive into anything aside from what it is that, we're specifically there for. But what we will do is let them know and let them make the decision. So one perfect example would be if you're a residential HVAC tech and you're there on an air conditioning call. And what happens if, you get the AC unit up and running, everything's fine, and then you decide, I'm going to just, switch it over to heat mode real quick, see if that fires up okay. Do the customer a good service. It'll only take 2 seconds. And what if the heat doesn't come on? What if you hear the inducer come on and everything, and you hear the gas valve click, but nothing comes on? Now are you going to go at that point and test the the hot surface igniter, and make sure that you did actually get voltage to the gas valve, and chest gas pressure. No, because you're there for the air conditioning, and that's fixed. But it would be a good time to say, hey, to save you a service call when we get into heating season, just as a courtesy, I went ahead and tried to power on the heat, and I noticed that you're not firing. So would you like me to take maybe another half hour and check that out while I'm here on the same service call? And, usually they would say yes. It'd be silly not to say yes. The only reason would be maybe they're already planning on replacing the system, later, into the fall, and they don't care that the heat doesn't work. But, yeah, we're out there not just to replace parts, and not even really just to fix machines, but we're here to care for our customers, and looking at the whole machine as a system, and making sure that all the buttons push in right, all the burners burn, all the bells ding, and all the whistles whistle. That's just a part of providing good customer service. So that's really all that I have for today. Just, again, it was just kind of funny to me that she called and was confused as to why I was looking at the whole oven. And really the answer is because that's what we do. We look at the whole machine, man. But yeah, I just thought I'd share that one with you. You all have a fantastic day. Be safe out there. Stay hydrated. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye for now.